Get ready for a work from home story that is equal parts hilarious and satisfying. I'll come back so long as Larry isn't there. Let's dig into the story. To give some background information on my friend, let's call him Tim, which is a made-up name. He's been programming ever since he was 7 years old. By the time he got to college, Tim breezed through most of his computer science classes, since he already mastered much of the content years earlier. Tim is an excellent programmer. His career has been quite successful, and he worked at Google, Facebook, Amazon, and finally, at a hedge fund. Tim worked a lot with AI technology, and there he was the lead programmer who spearheaded an effort to optimize their AI, helping them to complete literally millions of trades a day. To say his work had a massive impact would be an understatement. All of this was happening with COVID-19 in the background. Due to the pandemic, they switched to work from home model, where Tim kept working from his fancy $4,500 New York City apartment. During this time, Tim looked around and wished for a yard, a heated pool, and a nice 3-car garage, and not to be living in a high-rise. It occurred to him that he could leave New York City. So Tim moved to Michigan. Tim moved back to his hometown in Michigan, where he bought a really nice house with a heated pool, 3-car garage, spacious yard, the whole shebang. Guess what the yard had? A mother-in-law suite. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, second home on the property. And that, he turned into his man cave. It was actually pretty awesome. Oh yeah, his mortgage payment was for far less than his $4,500 monthly rent, like half. Tim spent the rest of his COVID-19 work from home time pounding out projects. He never officially informed his employer that he moved. He just kept working. Then the pandemic suddenly ended. So Tim's boss, Larry, calls him up and he says, "All right, Tim, on Monday, we're gonna start to work at the office again." So Tim responds, "Yeah, about that, I kind of moved to Michigan." Larry is shocked. "You didn't even ask if you could do that?" he exclaims. And Tim replies sarcastically, "I didn't know I needed your permission to move." Larry insisted that Tim must move back to NYC or lose his place in the team. Tim points out that he's been doing the same high-level work from home for the past year, and he offers to travel to NYC for a few meetings a year or on his own dime. But he feels that the quality of life is so much higher outside of New York City that he has no desire to live there. Larry then retorts, "If you don't have any desire to live in the city, then I have no desire to keep you employed." So now what do you think that a talented programmer with over 10 years of experience specializing in AI, what's he gonna say to that? You guessed it, Tim quit. So anyone who's done programming knows that sometimes the best person to maintain the code is the one who wrote it. The logic and thought processes can be so unique that it's tough for someone else to take over a code base that they didn't create themselves. 6 weeks pass and John, the CEO of the hedge fund, calls Tim. John convinces Tim to consider coming back and suggests flying him to New York City for a meeting. Tim flips the script on him. "Now, how about you fly to Michigan and we discuss this," he says. He wanted to establish that any return would be on his terms, working from Michigan, and that the talks would also happen there. John agrees and flies out 2 days later. They sit down and John says they really need Tim because he added so much value and the programming team is struggling. John offers Tim his job back with a 20% pay cut, calling it a cost of living adjustment since he's not in New York City. To which Tim counters, "No, I want a 15% raise above what I was earning." And John responds, "We pay what we pay because we ask you to live in New York City, which is an expensive place." Tim fires back, "You pay me what you pay me because I'm worth it. If I wasn't, you wouldn't pay me. My first condition is a 15% raise." John asks, "And second?" To which Tim says, "I'll come back so long as Larry isn't there." John sighs, "You're asking for too much." And Tim replies, "You don't need to bring me back. I'll be fine elsewhere." John says, "Let me talk to the partners." To which Tim adds, "My offer is good until Friday only." John queries, "What do you mean?" And Tim explains, "Next Monday I start looking for work. This offer stands until Friday." John leaves. That Thursday, the phone rings. It's John. "Tim, we're transferring Larry to a different fund. He won't be working with you anymore. And we're fine with giving you a 15% raise. Can we send you an offer letter to sign?" Tim asks, "Larry is really gone?" And John confirms, "Yes, you'll never have to interact with him again." That was at the start of the year. Tim hasn't been back to NYC, he's not heard from Larry, and he hasn't seen him on any communications. So I guess he got what he wanted. Here's the comments. "Do quality work? Check. Worth your paycheck? Yes. Able to force the company to pay you and meet your terms? Priceless." The hedge fund CEO should have known from the moment he accepted to meet out of state that Tim was in control. This is 100% a job duties negotiation as opposed to any kind of revenge. Here's the analysis. 70% of commenters supported Tim, admiring his bold negotiation tactics. 20% felt he was arrogant or unethical for not informing his employer about the move. Why would you settle for a corner office if you can negotiate from your heated pool? Tim's tale reminds us that the best negotiations happen when you're already living your best life. Has anyone heard from Larry? This story follows a wife who uses Reddit the way it was meant to be. Am I the a-hole for letting you know I'm divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you use to ignore me? Here we go. Hi Stefan, maybe you will finally listen. If you're wondering if you can speed home to stop me, it's already too late. I'm sending this after I've already loaded the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with the landlord, took my name off the lease, I set up a direct deposit for next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. Because you've done nothing wrong and you're a great husband and father to be. Aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you. I, a 29-year-old female, have been married to my husband, who's a 35-year-old male, for 5 years. We've been together for nearly 10 years, but our marriage has been far from perfect. I've hit my breaking point. I need to know if I am the one in the wrong here. From day one, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition, whereas it wasn't. She constantly criticizes my cooking and my looks, and I'll never forget when she called me fat at a family gathering, in front of everyone. And my husband, he said nothing to defend me. It didn't stop there. She accidentally destroyed my grandmother's necklace, tossing it out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's made me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. When I told my husband, he brushed it off, saying I was overreacting. And then there's my husband. He's always right on Reddit, giving strangers relationship advice, which is ironic, right? He spends more time rating women's boobs than talking to me. Literally. The last pair that he rated, not a 4 out of 10, but a 10 out of 10. He has time for that, but he forgets my birthday and our anniversary. He cannot remember what I'm working on or what matters to me. But his work schedule, he never forgets that. When we fight, he gets hostile and ends sentences with sarcastic buddy, like I'm just some annoyance. And he never cleans the house or dishes or does laundry. It's all on me. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our daughter. So my mother-in-law told me that she'll have to whip the girl into shape and make her tough because I'm supposedly too soft. I told my husband I didn't want her influencing our daughter, given how she treats me. He just laughed it off and said, she means well, and I was overthinking it. Then we talked about childcare. He suggested that his mother watch her daughter while we work. I said I wasn't comfortable with that, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said that his mother would be a big part of her daughter's life if I liked it or not. This is the same woman who thinks hitting kids is fine. I've seen her smack my husband's nephew for tiny things and nobody stops her. It's as if they're in a cult and I'm finally waking up. If he won't stand up for me, how can I trust him to protect our child? I started fearing for her daughter's future. A home where her grandmother might bully her and her father just doesn't do anything. Oh, and he also missed the first ultrasound. His mother needed him urgently to fix her Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi, yeah, he chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That showed me his priorities and where I stand in his life. So I packed up and I left. I'm just done living like this. I've contacted a lawyer and I told him, you can't scare me anymore. I have all of the texts, Stefan, and you know which ones I mean. So Stefan, enjoy your future marriage with your mother and the Reddit women whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband after years of neglect and his mother's mistreatment and fearing for her daughter's safety? So most commenters cheered on the bold exit, calling it justified and an epic move. They slammed Stefan and his mother, rooting for the poster and her daughter. Notable comments? Stefan, buddy, please reply and tell us how much of a good boy you are. Mommy will be so proud. I hope Stefan and mommy wife are eternally trapped with each other. She failed raising her son into a complete autonomous human and would have tried to damage her daughter. 80% of commenters agreed with the poster, praising her for escaping a toxic marriage and for protecting her daughter. 10% of you thought that the post was too harsh and suggesting a quieter exit might have been better. So in this case, Reddit turned into a roast fest for Stefan. It's proof that when you mess with the wife, you wake in the hive. Well, she just proved that divorce can be a 5-star mic drop. So this birthday story has a twist so shocking, you will not believe it's real. Am I the a-hole for faking a serious eye injury, making my mom faint, and ruining my birthday party? This story follows a 15-year-old who pulled out a great revenge on her own mom. Here's the story. My mom thinks it's hilarious to smash mine and my siblings' faces into her birthday cakes. I have no idea why, but it just makes her laugh. I just turned 15 and I told her if she planned to do it again, I'd rather skip the cake and the party. She promised she wouldn't do it and got upset that I threatened to bail without that promise. I knew she was lying because I know her too well. So I hatched a plan with my friends. One of my friends does cosplay and helped me with a simple trick. The other two at the party were ready to play along and ramp it up. When my mom smashed my face into the cake, as I expected, I screamed like I'd been shot. So I took the patch that I had hidden in my hand, pulled my face from the birthday cake, and pressed it into my eye. The patch had a candle stub poking out between my fingers and some fake blood. My friends rushed over, and I yelled that I couldn't see out of that eye. One friend peeked under my hand and pretended to run to the bathroom to throw up. My mom literally fainted. Once that happened, I called off the prank fast. I showed everyone it was just a joke. But the day was ruined. There was fake blood everywhere. Someone had called an ambulance. It was good because we needed it for my mom. I didn't get in trouble because I showed my dad the text proving she'd promised not to smash my face. But my mom was still upset that I made her look bad and that she was a liar by showing everyone the text. At first they were all mad at me too. I think if she hadn't lied, none of this would have happened. So it's all on her. Most commenters cheered on the narrator's prank, calling it a clever way to call out her mom's lies and bullying. Your mom's a complete jerk, and if she didn't lie, she would not be known as a liar right now. You didn't make her look like a liar. She did that to herself. You're a genius. If this doesn't stop, just skip parties and celebrate with friends instead. 90% of commenters were in favor, praising the prank as a brilliant way to expose the mom's dishonesty and to stop the cake smashing antics. 5% felt that the prank was too extreme, suggesting she might have gone too far with the ambulance and the fake blood. This kid proved that karma comes with candles.